Hello, my dear children. Namaste and welcome to this wonderful session of your class in ICSE Biology. Yes, yet another very important topic from the chapter, the nervous system. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this amazing platform of Vedantu. Okay, guys, so let's move on. As you know, we've been discussing some super critical things, super important things as far as the chapter nervous system is concerned. And today also, we'll be talking about something very important, which is also considered to be on the slightly harder side or the difficult side for many children to understand. Trust me, for me also, it was pretty much the same when I was in school. Okay, but anyway, let's look at it slow and steady, step by step, and let's ensure it's going to be easy. But always do remember, if you have any questions related to whatever I'm going to be explaining today, please remember to post them in the comment section below, because we will be having a live doubts plus mentee session, as you know, at the end of the chapter, right, as we do with every other chapter. So to ensure that we will definitely not miss out your doubts, please do post them in the comment section below. Okay, and if it's going to be some kind of positive feedback, please do remember to post your feedback on that as well, because that's what keeps us going and keeps us motivated, right? Okay, so let's move on, and as always, let's start with a positive quote. Yes, push yourself, because no one else is going to do it for you. As teachers, we are here to give you the best possible guidance in terms of academics and in terms of general motivation based on our experiences in the past also, right? But then that's not it. A lot of it depends on you, your mindset and your attitude also, because you are the best person to keep pushing yourself. No one can do that job for you, right, guys? Okay, so let's move on. Vedantu has always believed that kone se top result aega, and once again we have proved it, not just for one or two exams, but actually proudly, let me tell you this, for JEE Advanced, NEET, and for our 11th and for our 10th and 12th board exams. So you can see how many amazing results we have. For JEE Advanced, 548 ranks have been produced across India, and 268 have been produced in the top 10K. 1 out of 3 students who clear JEE mains have secured a rank in JEE Advanced. Vedantu students, yes, that's the best proud moment that we have heard of late, like in the last couple of months. I think the best moments have been some of these. And yes, NEET also, which has been a very recent development, a very recent result that came out. 27 students have scored above 600 and 46 students have scored above 550. Well, definitely, I would say hats off to all the students and their parents and all the teachers for doing such a wonderful, tireless, joint effort in bringing out such wonderful results. And of course, 10th and 12th children like you all have done amazingly well. In fact, 171 students have scored above 90% in class 10th, and 157 students have scored above 90% in class 12. And this is certainly wonderful celebratory moments for all of us here. And these have been the best results from all online classes. Yes, guys, and let me also remind you about Vedantu Master Scholarship Admission Test, which is going to be happening at 3 p.m. every Sunday. Started from the 25th of October, still ongoing every Sunday. And this will continue till the 29th of November. And who can apply for it, who can appear for it? Children between grades 6th to 13th can appear for Vedantu Master Scholarship Admission Test. And what's going to be the benefit? You will be entitled to receive scholarships, up to 100% scholarships for JEE, NEET, and your CBSE exam preparation through these scholarship tests. Okay, so definitely do not miss it out. Overall, it's going to be something huge. Vedantu Master Scholarship Test is going to be huge, because totally it's going to have scholarships worth rupees 100 crore. So certainly make it a point. Do remember to enroll right now for JEE and NEET repeaters batch also. Okay, children, so do remember this. And also at the same time, If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do click on the subscribe button right now. Vedantu 9th and 10th English, as all the other channels of Vedantu, is completely dedicated in giving you an overall package, not just in academics, but also we try and come up with whatever positive motivational sessions that we can. Right. Okay. Now coming to the homework question I had given you in the last class. Are all reflexes controlled by the spinal cord? It could be a yes or no. Explain your answer. Okay. So here is the answer. In fact, as we have seen in the last class, the reflex arc, the pathway of the reflex arc, it's a neural pathway that controls a reflex. And in vertebrates, most sensory neurons do not pass directly to the brain, but synapse in the spinal cord. And we have seen how that occurs also, right? The afferent neurons and the relay neurons and the efferent neurons. Because as I have told you in the last class, this allows for faster reflexes, faster reflex actions to occur by activating the spinal neurons, spinal motor neurons, without having to go through the longer route of going to the brain, then coming back to the spinal cord, and then passing it on to your effector organs. But rather, spinal cord in an emergency situation takes an immediate decision, right? But then the question is this the case with all reflexes? Well, I think I vaguely do remember mentioning it vaguely, like somewhere in a little manner, that not all reflexes are controlled by the spinal cord. There do exist some reflexes which are also controlled by the brain, and hence we also call them cerebral reflexes. Yes, cerebral reflexes also exist. Like, for example, closure of eyelids upon stimulation of the cornea. The cornea, which is one of the layers, the outermost layer of your eye, protective layer of your eye, when it gets stimulated, automatically your eyelids would close. This is an example of a cerebral reflex, because why is it controlled by your brain and not the spinal cord is the question. Well, it makes complete sense to recall the definition of a reflex arc. The reflex arc, if you remember, we defined it as the shortest possible route that a receptor would take in order to make the quickest possible decision. For a reflex, which for an organ which is stimulated, that is closer to the brain than the spinal cord, certainly it makes complete sense to take its shortest route through the brain itself. It doesn't make sense for your eye nerves, for your optic nerves to go to the spinal cord and ask for the spinal cord's permission and get its decision made and then come back to your eyes. Certainly not. That's a longer route. But rather, just like the cornea, there are several other reflexes also which are controlled by your brain. Mostly those which are above your neck region. Okay, most reflexes which happen in this head region is what is controlled by your brain, and they would come under the category of cerebral reflexes. Okay, so do remember, spinal and cerebral reflexes do exist in our body. Okay, and today let us learn about the eye and the ear. Okay, and let us move on. Sensory organs. What are your sense organs? You've been hearing about your sense organs right from probably your preschool days, right? Or at least your kindergarten days. I'm sure about that. At least LKG and UKG, you would have heard that you have got 5 main senses which help you connect with the outside world. You have eyes to see. You have your tongue, the taste or the gustatory receptors to taste your food. You have the ears. You have your ears to help hear something, hear what I'm saying now. And even if you hear some song from a movie, that is also taken care of by your ears. Smell, sense of smell by your nose. And also sense of touch by the biggest organ of your body, which is the skin. Yes, all of that is taken care of by your sense organs, which don't exist independently, but rather all of them have the ability to send signals to your brain. And your brain is able to relate to it either as a new experience or by learned memory, something that your brain already knows. Okay. So many fascinating things happening in our body. So this is just an example, a table which basically lists out the major receptors. I think I've shown you this in the previous class also. Mechanoreceptors, which are sensitive to deformation. Chemoreceptors, which detect chemical in the mouth, which is taste, nose, smell, and body fluids. Photoreceptors, which are activated by photons. Thermoreceptors, which can detect a change in temperature. Phonoreceptors, which detect sounds and help in hearing. All of these are the major receptors which are found in sense organs, and even gustatory receptors, as we can call them, under chemoreceptors probably, which help in specifically detecting taste. Right? When you eat a laddu, the flavor that your tongue feels is completely different from what you feel when you eat chili paneer or like chili gobi or something like that. Right? You're able to identify it as a result of your gustatory receptors. Okay, so as far as your syllabus is concerned, we have two major sense organs to understand: your eye and your ear. Okay, so let's start talking about the eye, starting with where exactly the eyes are found. The eyes are found in a deep socket in your skull. The deep socket which houses the eye is called the orbit. Okay, and there are 6 muscles which help in the movement of your eyes. Okay, this is what it is. I know it looks a little scary, but not to worry at all. This is how it looks without our eyelids. Okay, yes, that is what we call the orbit, which is the socket in which the eye is present, the socket in the skull, the eye socket. Now, eyelids, why are they there? We've got 2 eyelids, an upper eyelid and a lower eyelid, and they are both movable. Like I'm blinking, right? You can see my upper and lower eyelids moving. What do they do by moving? They protect your eyes when they close, right? And eyelashes are also there. Additionally, these hairy structures which are here, they protect your eyes from the entry of large particles. And you also have your eyebrows. That also has a sort of protective function. It protects your eyes from raindrops and also from trickling perspiration, sweat which is trickling down. It prevents it from entering into your eyes. This is why we've got eyebrows and eyelashes. And as far as women are concerned, I think eyelashes and eyebrows are also something that adds to your sense of beauty. And this is exactly why we consider it to be part of certain cosmetic procedures and processes also, like using certain makeup items to enhance the beauty of your eyelashes and eyebrows. Okay, so now coming to more and more about your eyes, we are going deeper and deeper into our eyes. Tear glands and tear ducts. Yes. Why is it that we produce tears when we cry? Well, thanks to our lacrimal gland, which is right here, we call it the lacrimal gland. These glands are located upper sideward position, in the upper sideward position, and have 6 to 12 ducts. Tubular structures are called ducts, through which they can pour their secretion. Why are they even there? They are there to give a basic lubrication to our eyes, and at the same time they can help in washing away dust particles because they contain an enzyme which is called lysozyme, which has the ability to kill a lot of bacteria and a lot of other such foreign particles and getting rid of dust and a lot of other stuff. Right? So these are the different ducts of the lacrimal gland. Do remember the name. It's called lacrimal gland, which is connected to a system like lacrimal sac, lacrimal ducts, the nasolacrimal duct, and the different ducts that it has through which it can pour its secretions. Yes. Okay, so now let me assume a smaller size for you to be able to look at what's on this slide, right? The conjunctiva. What exactly is the conjunctiva? The conjunctiva, now these 2 images are here to give you better perspective about where exactly you can see the conjunctiva. The conjunctiva is basically the thin covering present over the entire front part of the eye. Okay, so over cornea, conjunctiva is reduced to single layer of transparent epithelium, and we call it, like, there are two subtypes or two parts to it. As you can see, the bulbar conjunctiva and the palpebral conjunctiva. Okay, so you can see them here also, the bulbar and the palpebral conjunctiva, which are right here protecting the cornea. Remember the cornea, which I have told you about? Yes, I will tell you more about the cornea also in the slides to come. And the conjunctiva is present even outer to the cornea, okay, as a protective structure. You must have heard about an eye infection which is called conjunctivitis, which is basically an infection or an inflammation of the conjunctiva as a result of some kind of an infection. Okay, so in such a case, there is a lot of irritation in the eye and the eye may appear reddish. Okay, all right, so let's now understand more about the structure of the eye. There are several parts in our eye, although we see only the white and black, the bull's eye sort of appearance, but rather it's not just that much. There are plenty of other structures as far as our eye is concerned, starting with outermost to innermost. Don't get disheartened by the appearance of this particular image. I will show it to you step by step. I have also made an image, made a table for you, so that you can remember it, recall it easier. Okay, so let me just name the major parts of the eye. As we have seen, the conjunctiva is there. Okay, and then we also have a structure called the cornea, which is the transparent covering, and then there is a structure called the pupil, and then there is the iris, which is basically the colored part of the eye, which is genetically inherited. Whether you have brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes, black eyes, is all dependent on your genes. Okay, and it's the iris which is the colored part. And then, of course, the eyelash, which you see here, the ciliary bodies, the eyelid, the sclera, which is yet another layer, the rectus muscles, which are associated with your eyes. And then we have additional layers, which we call the choroid, retina. And there are two major chambers in our eye, the aqueous humor and the vitreous humor. There is a region which is called the fovea, the blind spot, and there is also something called the yellow spot, which I will show you in some time. And there is also a bundle of nerve fibers, which we call optic nerves, which are important in transmitting signals to the brain. You're able to identify me and recognize me as Ambika Ma'am and not Anubha Ma'am or Abhishek Sir, because you know me. You've been seeing me for the last couple of months, and you're able to recognize me. Your brain has already learned that information from previous experience. So now the next time you look at me, your brain is telling you, okay, this is Ambika Ma'am. Okay, yes, that is what your optic nerve does, and that is basically the connection between your eye and your brain. Okay, now let's understand more about the three concentric layers of the eyeball, and they are the sclerotic layer, the choroid layer, and the retina. Yes, the sclerotic layer, the choroid layer, and the retina, which are right here. The retina is here, the choroid is right here, and the sclerotic layer, which is right outside it. Yes, this layer is called the sclerotic layer. Okay, and now let's look at the three concentric layers of the eyeball. The sclerotic layer, which is basically the outermost layer, which we call the sclera or the sclerotic layer, followed by the choroid layer, which is this layer, and the retina, which is the innermost layer. Okay, sclerotic, choroid, and retina, which is the innermost layer. What exactly do these do? Sclerotic layer is generally made of rough tissue. It is white in color, and it is visible through the conjunctiva, this whitish portion. It's transparent at the region of the cornea. Okay, and the cornea can sometimes become defective, opaque, like in the case of cataract and other such diseases, and as a result it can become non-functional also. Coming to the choroid layer, which is this particular layer, this pinkish layer that you see here is the choroid layer, which is richly supplied with blood vessels. Of course, just like any other part of your body, your eyes also need rich supply to blood vessels, and it provides nourishment to the eye because obviously it's supplied with blood vessels, and it contains the dark pigment melanin. Okay, and choroid in fact expands to form ciliary body in front of your eye. Yes, ciliary body in front of your eye, which is this particular structure, ciliary body and muscle, which is right here. Okay, what it does I will tell you in some time when we understand the mechanism of vision. Okay, then comes yes, it is the iris is actually an extension of the choroid which controls light. Okay, that is about the iris, which is the colored part of your eyes. And then comes retina, which is the innermost layer. This part, this layer is called the retina. In fact, this is sensitive to light, and this we would say is the most important layer of your eye. Of course, everything is important, but then this is the layer of your eye which has two types of sensory cells, rod cells and cone cells. Rod cells which are stimulated by low light, and cone cells which are stimulated by bright light. Okay, cone cells which are as a result we can say they are responsible for color vision also. Okay, because they are stimulated by bright light, we say cone cells help us with color vision. Okay, so that's about the three layers: sclerotic layer, choroid layer, and the retinal layer. And now coming to the next part, which we call the yellow spot. Okay, the yellow spot, which is a very, very important part of the eye, which is also called macula. Okay, macula lutea, or the yellow spot. It is considered to be the area of best vision. Okay, children. So remember what view this image is in. This is basically from the right side. We are starting with the outermost layer, and as we go towards the left, we are going deeper into the eye. Okay, so macula lutea, or the yellow spot, it lies at the back of the eye, mostly at the center on the horizontal axis, the macula or the yellow spot. Okay, and why is it said to be the area of best vision? It is because this is the spot which has maximum number of sensory cells out of rods and cones. That too, cones are highly concentrated in the region of macula or the yellow spot. Yes, and hence this is said to be the region of brightest vision and color vision. Okay, region of brightest vision or color vision. But then, in addition to the yellow spot, there is also a region here, somewhere in this area, which is called the blind spot. Why do you think we would need something like that? Well, blind spot, this is where it is seen at the junction where all the optic nerves meet, all of these nerves meet, and the point from where the optic nerves are leaving your eye to join with the cranial nerve to reach your brain. That is the point which we call the blind spot. Okay, so as the name indicates, it's got no sensory cell, and as a result, it's a point of no vision. Okay, blind spot, opposite to yellow spot, but then it's the point where all the nerve fibers converge and they bundle together and leave the eyeball to reach the brain in the form of optic nerve. Okay, so this is about the yellow spot and the blind spot. Now coming to the two major chambers, which we call the aqueous chamber and the vitreous chamber. Aqueous chamber is basically this small chamber, okay, this small area, and we have the huge, bigger area, which is called the vitreous chamber rather. Aqueous chamber is filled with aqueous humor, which keeps the eye lens, the lens of your eyes, moist and basically protects it from all kinds of mechanical shocks and helps in light refraction also. Okay, and then we have vitreous chamber, which is filled with a gelatinous substance, which we call vitreous humor right here. This entire orange structure is called the vitreous humor, which maintains the shape of the eyeball and also protects the retina and its nerve endings. This is super duper important. Without the aqueous and the vitreous humor or the gelatinous material which fills up these chambers, your eye wouldn't be as nourished and as well flexibly placed as it is currently. Okay, and then comes another very important part, which is the lens. Of course, I'm not talking about the glasses or the artificial spectacles that we use, but then our eyes naturally have a lens, right? That is what helps us see. Yes, this is the lens, the position of the lens, and zoomed in, you can see it to be like this. The lens supported by what we call the ciliary muscles and suspensory ligaments. And with the help of these muscles and ligaments, our lens is able to adjust its shape, become either more rounded or become more elongated in order to see far away objects or closer objects. Okay. All right, so that's about the lens. Now let us look at all of these parts. Yes, the sclera, which is the outermost layer, as I have told you, which provides a basic protection to your eye and is believed to have a lot of other protective roles also. And then comes the conjunctiva, okay, which helps in covering or protecting the sclera as well. Okay, the conjunctiva. And then comes the cornea, which is this layer, right, which covers the pupil and the iris. And then comes the choroid, okay, the choroid, which is this layer, this pinkish layer, which is right here, which is richly supplied with blood vessels for nourishment. And then comes the colored part, which we call the iris, this part, the colored part of your eyes. And then comes the pupil, which has an aperture at the center of the iris. Yes, this is the pupil. In fact, you will be able to observe the pupil on your own. Just look into the mirror and try flashing some kind of bright light into your eyes. You will see that the pupil is able to dilate and constrict depending upon whether it's getting exposed to bright light or dim light respectively. Okay, try this out, observe it, and you would be able to see the beauty of it. In fact, people with dark colored eyes like I have, as with most Indians, I think this is the case. Maybe for us, it will be a little more difficult to observe it, but then definitely you can observe it to see whether it is functioning normally. Okay, and then comes the ciliary muscles, the ciliary body and the muscles which hold the iris in place. And then comes the lens, which is biconvex. The normal lens of the eyes are biconvex in shape. Okay, and we have more parts to our eyes also, which is the retina, which is the innermost layer, and the light sensitive layer, the area of vision, we can call it. It contains photoreceptor cells, right? And then there is an area called the fovea, which is this area, which is the point where, the exact point, pinpoint where resolution is said to be the greatest. Okay, and then comes the yellow spot or the macula, which is said to be the area of best vision, the blind spot, which is said to be the area of no vision, but then it is there as a point where the nerve bundles or the nerve fibers together leave your eyes. And then comes the aqueous humor, which provides nourishment to the lens, and the vitreous humor, which holds the spherical shape of the eyeball. This is all about the human eye. Okay, and now comes the big question. How do we see? Yes, let us go deeper into the eyes. Yes, you go deeper into the eyes and you can see that light rays are entering into your eyes through the cornea, through the aqueous humor, and your lens is able to adjust. And then through the vitreous humor, it's able to form an image on the retina. Yes, and through the optic nerves, the impulses are transmitted to your brain. Yes, this is how it occurs. When you look at a distant object, ciliary muscles are able to relax the muscles which help in adjusting the position of your lens. They are able to relax, causing the lens attachment fibers to become taut and flatten the lens. Okay, so the lens are basically elongated this way, as you can see here. Okay, whereas when you look at a nearby object, now something that's so close, obviously that's very, very strainful to the eyes. But then when you look at a close object, what the ciliary muscles do is they contract, releasing tension on the fibers and allowing the lens to become more spherical and more rounded, as you can see here. Okay, so depending upon whether you're looking at a distant or a nearby object, your lens has the ability to adjust its shape. And there is a name that we give to this. Yes, we call it accommodation of the eye. Accommodation is basically the ability of our eye to change its focus from distant to near objects and vice versa. Okay, distant and near objects and vice versa. Yes, this is how it occurs. Okay, accommodation, the principle of accommodation, this is how it occurs. Yes, so field of vision, nearby objects fill more of our field of vision, and far away objects fill less of our field of vision. So say for example, when I'm looking at a tree which is near me, I may not be able to hold it inside my fingers when I'm trying to like look at it, because I'm standing very close to it, which is why I'm saying nearby objects fill more of our field of vision. But when I'm looking at the same tree from a distance, say for example, about 300 meters away from it, I can probably say, okay, the tree is this small, right? That is why I'm saying far away objects feel less of our field of vision. And this is how our lens is adjusted also. Yes, while we do our best to protect our eyes, there are also certain common disorders that can be faced by our eye, that can affect our eyes. There are plenty of them, but then these are the common disorders. Myopia or short-sightedness or nearsightedness, as we can call it. So what happens is, there is excessive refractive power which focuses our rays before they reach the retina. Basically, what happens is, in simple language to tell you, the image is formed in front of the retina instead of getting formed on the retina. As a result, the person may not be able to see a clear image, okay? Especially when you're looking at a distant image, okay? Yes, so how can you correct this? Using a concave lens is how nearsightedness or myopia is corrected. So we call it a negative lens. Negative power is what we say the power is of a person with myopia. Okay, so corrected would ensure that a corrected lens would ensure that light rays are focused properly through your lens and the image is formed properly on the retina. Okay, now comes another defect which is called farsightedness or hyperopia, wherein the image would be formed behind the retina instead of getting formed on the retina. Right? It's formed at a point much behind the retina. And as a result, in order to correct this, a convex lens is commonly given, prescribed, so that for this positive power, positive lens as we call it, is given for correction, the image would be formed exactly on the retina. Okay, so basically, it's commonly observed in people who are middle-aged or even more aged than middle-aged people also. They would be more comfortable observing more farther objects as compared to nearby objects. So many times you might have observed people who, middle-aged people who like keep a newspaper or a book like farther away from their eyes without wearing their glasses and trying to strain their eyes to see what exactly is written. This is an example of farsightedness or hyperopia. And there is also another disorder which is called astigmatism, in which what happens is, basically, simply put, it is a kind of asymmetric refraction. So the kind of image which is formed on the retina, like in the case of a normal eye, a normal image would be formed on the retina. Whereas in an eye with astigmatism, there would be uneven formation of an image on the retina. Not at a pinpoint area, but rather a scattered image would be formed on the retina, okay, which makes the image blurry to the observer. Okay, so the correction for this is normally an asymmetric lens or a cylindrical lens in order to be able to focus the image properly on the retina. An asymmetric or a cylindrical lens is commonly given for a patient suffering from astigmatism. Blurry vision is commonly seen. Okay. And now, presbyopia, which is quite common in elderly people, wherein the lens would end up losing its flexibility, because as we age, a lot of our body parts end up losing their flexibility, and our lens also is prone to this. So it can be corrected by a convex lens. And cataract, you must have heard about cataract. Many of your grandparents might be prescribed, might be advised to go in for a cataract surgery. What exactly is cataract? It is basically the condition whereby your eye lens become opaque. Okay, they become more and more opaque as they age, and that is exactly why we describe it as opacification of the lens, leading to diminished vision. Obviously, when it's becoming opaque, your vision becomes diminished. But then it's typically corrected through surgery and spectacles also sometimes. Okay, children, now before we move on to the quiz time, I have certain important things to tell you. These are the most common problems that children face these days in online education. Plenty of unanswered doubts, no systematic notes which are given to them, tests and assignments. The formats have completely changed. Competitive exam preparation, choice of schedule, choice of language, everything seems to be a problem. But then, not a problem as long as you are associated with us, because we completely are dedicated to the student community as always. In addition to solving those, we give you plenty of bonuses also. Unlimited live classes, plenty of micro and crash courses, performance reports, and personalized attention, of course. So, to know more about this, children, just visit the link in the description box below and also check out the pinned comment. And as you read through the details, do remember to apply the coupon code AMBPRO when it is time for you to subscribe to these courses. Okay, just to reduce your confusions, let me guide you through this. When you click on that link, you will be guided to a window that asks you to choose your grade. So say, for example, it's going to be grade 10. Pick that, and that will lead you to a window where you have to choose your board. Okay, so board, basically for you guys, it will be ICSE 2021. And then check out all the details of what's included in Vedantu Pro. All the features have been mentioned here. Okay, all the features have been mentioned here. Just go through that and then click on the button that says get subscription. So basically, we have 3 major programs: 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. A 1 month of Pro subscription would mean for an entire 1 month of a 30 days, you have unlimited live interactive classes, test series and assignments, and analysis of your performance and notes after every single session. All of this available to you at 2,699 for all your subjects together, all your major subjects together, okay, for 1 month. Whereas you have the option of applying the coupon code AMBPRO to get this amount payable reduced to 2,159.2. Okay, so definitely make use of it, children. For 30 full days, you will get unlimited access to all of these regular courses and, of course, for our micro courses also. For those of you who want to stay tension free for a longer time, here are the details of your 3-month subscription, normally priced at 6,999, and apply the code to get it reduced to 5,599.2. And for 6 months, which is for a longer duration, 11,499 if you subscribe to it for 6 months. But again, apply the code AMBPRO to get it reduced to 9,199.2. Well, children, I think I have given you the information that you would certainly require in a transparent manner. Now it's completely your decision whether you want to go in for a 1 month, 3 months, or a 6 months subscription. But all that I have to tell you as a parent and as a teacher myself is the fact that education has to be a perfect balance between keeping it pocket friendly and keeping it good quality. And that is exactly what we strive to do at Vedantu. Certainly, through these courses, by looking at the payment structure, the pricing structure itself, I'm sure you would have understood that. So certainly make up your mind and going for it without missing out on any of these opportunities. Okay, so let's have a very, very quick check of whatever you have understood until now. Which part of the eye is grafted in a needy patient from a donated eye? Okay, this is not something I have told you. It's just a general knowledge question. Conjunctiva, cornea, choroid, or ciliary muscles? Okay, and your time is up. The answer is cornea. Cornea is the part which is grafted in a needy patient from a donated eye. And now comes the next question. The region in the eye where the rods and cones are located is the retina, cornea, choroid, or the sclera? And your time is up. It is the retina where the rods and cones are located, and it's on the retina that the image is formed when you look at an object also. Okay, the process of focusing the eye at different distances, remember adjustment, is called hyperopia or hypermetropia, presbyopia, accommodation of the eye, or blind spot. All right. And your time is up. Of course, the answer is accommodation of the eye. Very, very well done, guys. Okay, now we have spoken about the eye. It's time to talk about our next sense organ also, which is our, yes, ears. Sarigamapadanisa. Am I talking or singing? Yes, you were able to identify it as singing, basically because that sense organ, your ear, was able to identify it for you, right? And how exactly does this mechanism work? That is exactly what we are going to be looking at in a very, very simple manner. Your ear is an organ that helps in not just hearing, it's also an organ that helps in balancing. When I turn around my head, when I bend to pick up something, when I am probably like in the case of ballet dancers also, where they, or Kathak dancers, which is more relatable to us Indians, right? They have to have a basic sense of balance, a good sense of balance. Your ears, fluid inside your internal ears basically help in giving that sense of balance also. Okay, so let us try and look at these three parts: the external ear, the middle ear, and the internal ear or the inner ear. These are the parts which we call the outer ear, middle ear, and the inner ear or the internal ear. The outer ear is what you see externally, okay, which you call the pinna or the auricle, through which all the sound waves enter into your eye, right? And that also includes an ear canal, which leads to a junction between the outer and inner ear, which is called the eardrum. Okay. Now, the eardrum leads into the middle ear, which is this area, inside which there are three tiny bones of your body, the three tiniest bones of your body: malleus, incus, and stapes, along with a few other structures. And that leads into the inner ear, inside which you see this snail-like structure, right? And that's got a name as well. We will look at it in the slides to come. And of course, the tube that you see here, the eustachian tube, is part of the middle ear as well. The eustachian tube is basically the tube which connects your ear to your throat as well. And also, it's important in maintaining a balance of air pressure between the outer atmospheric pressure and the internal pressure. Okay, that is why eustachian tube is important. Okay, now let's look at them part by part, starting with the external ear. As I told you, it consists of a projecting part called the pinna or the auricle, which many teachers like twisting this way, right? I remember many of my childhood teachers used to do this. But I think you can be fortunate enough. We are all online teachers, right? We can't do that. Okay. And a passage called auditory canal. This is the auditory canal, which leads to the eardrum. This is the eardrum or the tympanum. Okay. Yes. That is about your external ear, which receives the external sound waves. What I'm telling you now, you're able to receive through your external ear, which is going and touching your eardrum, right? Okay, and you can see that the structures inner to that are vibrating as well. This is about the external ear, which leads into the middle ear. Now, it contains three tiny bones or ear ossicles: malleus, which is commonly called hammer; incus, commonly called anvil; and the stapes, which is commonly called the stirrup. Hammer, anvil, and stirrup are actually the names given according to their shape. Okay, hammer, anvil, and stirrup. So stirrup is basically this structure, this basic structure. Okay, which is supposed to be the thing onto which those of you who've been on a horse ride would know this. The part on which you keep your feet, rest your feet when you sit on a horse, right? So they are biologically called malleus, incus, and stapes, or hammer, anvil, and stirrup in simple language. So these tiny bones actually are able to receive the vibrations from your eardrum. Okay, and the advantage is that because they are such tiny bones, they are able to increase the pressure, amplify the sound waves by increasing the pressure and passing it on, the amplified sound, into your internal ear also. Okay, so this is what your middle ear basically does. And as I told you, there is also a eustachian tube which is part of the middle ear. Okay, now let me tell you why exactly the sound waves have to be amplified. To tell you two things. One thing that you have to remember is when they pass through such tiny tubes, obviously pressure would be more. You must have heard in your maybe like class 5 or 6 physics lessons, why do we why is it that a tomato, when you cut it using a sharp knife, it doesn't become juicy? You can perfectly cut it. But try cutting it with a blunt knife. It would become very, very juicy, right? Why is it so? Because reduced surface area would mean there is increased pressure, right? Pressure is inversely proportional to area, right? As a result, here also something similar to that is applied. The principle similar to that is applied. As the tubes or the tiny bones are here, the ear ossicles are here, and they are really, really tiny. They are able to pass on or amplify the waves and pass them on with increased pressure into your inner ear, because the area is lesser in them, and as a result, the pressure would be greater. But now the question comes, why does greater pressure have to be given, right? So the answer to that is, inside your inner ear, I will be telling you that it is filled with a fluid. In order for sound to be able to, for your sound to be able to travel through a fluidy medium, it needs to be a lot stronger. There, it should be under very high pressure. Try thinking about a condition where you would move your hand here, you're dancing like on land. Try dancing inside water. You would need a lot more effort to dance underwater. Likewise, sound also. Try talking underwater. It would be a lot more difficult as compared to talking on land. As a result, it's important for your sound to be able to amplified by the time it reaches your inner ear. Now comes the inner ear, which is also called as membranous labyrinth because of the maze-like structure that it has, right? And it's got three major parts to it, which are the cochlea, which is the snail-like part that you see, which is actually the organ of hearing. And then you have what we call the semicircular canals, and there is a structure called the vestibule. Semicircular canals are involved in giving you the dynamic equilibrium, and vestibules are associated with static equilibrium. Okay, so this is what the inner ear does. Yes, to give you an information about perilymph and the endolymph also, which move inside the canals of your ear, and the endolymph which moves inside the cochlear duct. Yes, they are the fluids which I'm talking about, which help in giving you that sense of balance and are involved in hearing as well. Okay, now coming to the mechanism of hearing, which is, I think, simpler than the mechanism of vision. Yes, I'm telling you, hello, or I'm singing as I sang to you, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. Yes, how is it reaching your ears? This is what happens. It starts with your external ear, where, look at it, sound waves are reaching your outer ear. It vibrates on your inner eardrum. Through the ossicles they transmit, and through the cochlea, and they travel along the cranial nerve and are received by the brain. Yes, look at it once again. Outer ear, eardrum, then through the ossicles or the bones, through the cochlea, organ of hearing, and then they travel along the auditory nerve, the cranial nerve, and reach your ears, and they are able to interpret it as a sound. Whether I'm talking or singing, you're able to identify it. Yes, that is what we call the mechanism of hearing step by step. The pinna is able to collect, this is the first step. The pinna is able to collect the vibrations as you have seen, and it's able to conduct them through the auditory canal. This is your auditory canal. These vibrations strike on the eardrum, the tympanic membrane or the eardrum, the structure. Okay, and then that's a step 2. Step 3 is it vibrates the ear ossicles. Your malleus, incus, and stapes get vibrated from the eardrum. The vibrations pass on to the ear ossicles. Okay, and then the stirrup, which is the stapes, would transmit vibrations to a structure which is called the oval window. Okay, oval window, what that would do is it would further open up these vibrations into your inner parts of the ear. Okay, round window is also there, which vibrates in opposition to the oval window, and they basically act complementary to each other in helping you get the sense of hearing. Okay, so next step is fluid in the cochlear canal would receive these vibrations, and this would stimulate the sensory cells which are found in the organ of Corti. This organ is called the organ of Corti of the cochlea. Cochlea is the snail-like structure that I have shown you. And then, of course, the next step would be impulses getting picked up by the auditory nerves and getting transmitted to the brain. And your brain is able to recognize it as something familiar or as a new sound. Okay, or whether it's a song that you know already or whether it's a new song. Yes, that is your mechanism of hearing. The yellow part in this image all represents your outer ear, the pink one represents your middle ear, and the blue portion represents your inner ear. This is how mechanism of hearing functions. Now, how does your ear give you the sense of balance? Now, any angular movement of the head, whether you are like spinning any angular movement of the head in any direction, what it would do is it would move the endolymph in the semicircular canals. I've told you there is endolymph in the semicircular canals, right? This would move, and what it in turn would do is it would bend the hair cells. Okay, look at the image as I'm talking. It would bend the hair cells which are there, and the hair cells would in turn send nerve impulses to the brain through the auditory nerve. People who have a problem with fluid balance in the ear would have an issue standing up suddenly when they have been sitting for a long period of time, or in spinning, or when swinging also, or while going on a huge giant wheel. Sometimes I have that issue, but it's not too often, but sometimes, like spinning and all of that, it's a little like difficult for me. Okay, it wasn't so in childhood, but sometimes as we age, it becomes a part of us. So this is how our amazing ears help us with the sense of hearing and balance. Okay, children, so we have spoken a lot about it, and let us quickly check how much we have understood. The part of the human ear which looks like a snail's shell. What is it? Semicircular canals, cochlea, stapes, or the eustachian tube? Yes. And your time is up. The answer is cochlea. Okay, and I think you have done very, very well, guys. I know that was a very simple yet very, very important question, because in your section B, normally you will be asked to identify some parts. So with the snail's shell shape, you must be able to identify something as the as the cochlea. Okay, let me remind you that you now know about the eye and the ear. And here is my homework for you for today. Name the part of the human ear that opens into the throat. Let's see how many of you remember this. The part of the human ear that opens into the throat. And children, do remember to visit the link in the description box below and the pinned comment, and do check out all the details and apply the coupon code AMBPRO to avail the best discounts that we have out there. And of course, if you have enjoyed the session, found it useful, please remember to hit the like button now. Share it with all your friends so that they can also benefit from it. And of course, stay subscribed to our channel Vedantu 9th and 10th English if you haven't done it yet, because it's not just this. We will be coming up with more and more interesting sessions for your benefit. Okay, children, so until we meet again, this is Ambika signing off. Take care, stay happy, and stay healthy. Bye-bye.